Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I am back to give you a big update on my Octopus's Garden textile and fibre piece that I am creating for the upcoming Southeast Contemporary Art Network exhibition called Beatlemania. And we've each been asked to pick a Beatles song and create an artwork inspired by that. And so, yeah, Octopus's Garden was my chosen song, and I am having such a wonderful time creating this piece. I'm just getting so much joy from being able to stitch into it and add elements to it in the evenings. I was actually thinking I needed to get it all done by this weekend, but I think we actually get an extra week from what they originally had as their timing. So I've worked out a way that I can show it to you. I hope it's going to come out on video as thrilling as it is in person. I had to set up a bit of a stand so that I can spin it around and show you, and then we'll probably have to go into another position as I do some work on the back of the piece to show you how I am bringing together my hand-dyed textiles, so my vintage doilies, my pieces of ribbon, all my lovely gathered pieces, my beaded pieces, etc. So we'll do some of that sort of composition together, probably do some stitching of that together, and I'll just talk you through the whole process of how I have put it together. So in a previous episode, if you didn't see it, I created this stump work, gold work octopus. He's got fully meldable legs. He is totally freestanding at the moment for the exhibition. I'll probably put just a couple of little stitches in place to hold him, but I do find he tends to hold pretty well in place. It's just I won't be there for the curating of the exhibition, so there's another team that does that, so I just want to make sure that he is sort of properly sitting for when it gets displayed. And I've still just got to give some more thought to the display. At the moment I've got actually a glass bowl and a like a stand that holds one of those drink containers, and the great thing is it lets me spin it around, which is going to be really helpful to be able to show it to you. So you would have in another episode also, I can see got a bit of thread hanging off, you would have seen me creating the hand-dyed pieces, and also showing you how I was creating some of the elements as well. So I'll be sure to link to both the goldwork video and the creating of some of these pieces, as well as the video where I was dyeing pieces. I've also been dyeing lots with old highlighter cartridges, and I'll just see if I can bring it into frame. I've got lots of fabulously dyed threads and other things which I'll be using as I continue to stitch into this piece. So lovely colours. I particularly like the orange and the pink highlighter mixed together. It gives really beautiful toned pieces. In fact, there are probably some in here that are done with that as well. And then, as I mentioned in the previous video, I have used an old felted jumper that I got at the Reverse Art Truck, and so I think it would have been maybe ones that they were sort of testing how the jumpers went when they got washed in different temperatures, and so it was amazingly beautifully all felted together. It would have been, I think, a lady size jumper, and it had come down to like being the size of a child's jumper, and that's what I've used as my base piece. I love that it looks like the sand, and when we get round to the back you're going to see that the jumper had these lovely little sort of bobbles on it that have formed the most wonderful textural part of the reef, and I've actually decided to leave those partially uncovered so I can really play up those elements, and I'm planning to do stitching in with the little sort of spider wheel stitch to create some lovely sort of like barnacles on that reef. But let me start then with the start. So I cut out and I did it sort of so it's not evenly shaped, so it's not a circle. I want it to be uneven and undulating. So you can see as I sort of give it a little spin to the side, it's definitely not a circle. It comes around. So I wanted an irregular shape to start with. So that's what I did, and cut that out from a base piece of the jumper. And then I had another section of the jumper, which is what I've used to create. And in fact, I will give you a little peek at the moment. That's what I've used to create this cave for the octopus. So 2 pieces to do that. And then I used some of my wire, my jewellery making wire, this sort of wire. And for the cave, I made a curve up here, and then I put some other pieces in as well to give me the structure for the cave. So I sewed that wire onto my wool. So basically I put it, let's say this was my cave, obviously my cave was a lot bigger. I put it onto the wool, put stitches over it, and then that means that I can actually shape it. And what you can see here, let me just give you an example. I can shape it. I can actually get it into whatever sort of formation, however open, however much sort of bent down, like that. So that's going to give, and then it holds its shape. It doesn't sort of slip out of that shape. So I did that first, and then I had some of this wonderful fabric that had these silvery, blacky sequins on it. And I stitched that over the piece of the wool fabric on one side of it, so it's sort of over most of the interior. It doesn't go all the way to the very back. And then I also overlapped it up a little bit over the edge of the cave here, because I didn't want it to just sort of stop there. I wanted it like the little shells were coming out of the cave. So you can see it extends out a little bit, and then with my elements, I've overlapped where the edge is. So just trying not to sort of have edges, trying to have things so that it is like in nature where they do meld and go. And I don't even mind that in some points little sequins have sort of fallen off. I don't mind that they're not fully covering, because with shells you kind of get those little clusters. I'm going to just have to keep clicking on it because the light is sometimes sort of I think the camera's having trouble picking up all the colours and working out what sort of contrast to use. Now I'll just move it back a smidgeroo so you can see. I have then, so once I had the cave, I worked out where I wanted it positioned on my base piece, and then I stitched it down around with the goal. You can see a little bit of it over here. So this is where the cave came down to. But with the goal that all of where the joins were would be covered. But even with this, where you've got this little slight, I guess, double layer here, that's what you get in nature with reefs anyway, with like the layering of the rock or the sand, etc. So yeah, I think all of it adds to the effect. One of my favourite parts of this is this little cluster down here. I'm actually probably going to, at the moment I've just got something sitting under it just to hold it up for showing you. In fact, I might even move it back a smidge. But I think I'll probably put a bit of wire under it to also keep it up, because otherwise it's tending to come down a bit when the piece is on display. But I just love this little cluster in here. I particularly love these lovely little elements, which I showed in a previous video, and just all the small details there. Again, I can see that you can't quite see. It is a bit of a challenge to film a piece this size. That's why when we're working on it, I'll probably just work on a small section with you. It wasn't something I felt I could really work on a lot on video, but I'm just really keen to share with you the techniques that I've used, which are very much techniques I've developed just doing this piece. It's been very much a learning by doing. I've definitely drawn my original inspiration of coral reefs from Fleur Woods, but then I feel like I've just gone I've gone a bit bananas and bonkers beyond I think even her pieces, which are they're definitely textural, but probably not quite so not so bonkers as this, to borrow an Annie Claxton term. And Fleur, I think in the pieces I've seen, she tends to more work in neutral tones and then add colour at the end. This was definitely adding colour first and then bringing that together in the piece. And I haven't really seen her using as much the sort of the pre-dyed laces and doilies and things like that. So yeah, definitely inspired by Fleur, but very much on a Christine adventure now, and just wanting to share it because it will bring me absolute joy if I see others borrowing or taking ideas from this and sharing them in whatever way you want to share them with yourself and with others. I also have included some beaded, beautiful vintage beaded pieces and reclaimed pieces of beading that I had, and I just felt like this one down here that I brought into the piece and then sort of stitched in a way so that it resembles shells and waves. I think these just really look like little shells and then smaller shells, and just really wanting to have that sense of movement. So that's definitely been something that's been strongly at play in the piece, and I just wanted to bring it all the way around, and I have overlapped it a bit over the sides here. But I just love the little gems, and I really wanted to also give the eye a bit of a relax from seeing the really bright colours. So I wanted to have some more neutral tones in there. That's why I've also in the cave left the sand as is, or the jumper really, but the sand. So that it's not all brightly coloured, and that's why I've also made the decision on the back to keep some of the reef as it is in the sandy colours, but then with the lovely sort of bulbous outcrops. And I've also used whites and neutrals in some parts of the pieces amongst the more colourful laces. So there's some of the more natural bits of what was in the original jumper, and I've just played that out again with the structuring with the wire, because I've done some other wiring internally. But I really love how it's shaping up now. And then these were multiple pieces of lace, but they were the same laces. But you can see I've cut some of them thinner than the others. So I found with a lot of the laces that I would cut them in half, and I'd prefer the size they were and the gathering that you would get when you gathered them up as a half piece. This is where we're going to be doing some further work, doing a bit of a composition together, even if we don't do all the stitching together. And this is the area where I'm planning to do some of those spider web and probably some French knots and some other little stitches. It's going to escape my head. I've got them in my mind. The little drizzle stitches that pop up. So I think I'll do some of that down here. So that will be my little canvas area. But then I want to leave these areas sort of untouched. But I didn't want to have the whole of the back totally untouched. So what I've done is brought down this lovely beading. Now let me bring the beading a bit closer, because I do particularly love this area up here as well. And so I have laid laces sort of down with beading, and then I've created some of these little bobbles using, have I got them handy? Using these little ones that came on like a tassel I got from the Embroiderers Guild Market, and then using some of the beautiful lace. Let me see if I can find some of this sort of beaded hand-dyed lace, and making these little circle, sort of like little clusters really. And I used some cotton wool there and wrapped that again with the lace. Let me just bring you in for a closer look. So I love how that is now, again, let me click the camera and get it to focus a bit better. I love how that is now cascading down the rocks, and it's got that real, and it's sort of like it is almost, following its way. There's a bit of Travis here trying to get into the exhibition, meandering its way down there. And then I've also, if I slide it back, I've also used that around here where I have this fabulous fringing. So I might just bring you down so we can have a little looky at the fringing component. So let me see if we can do this. So I haven't taken it all the way around yet, because I did want to have this a bit more relaxed. I've got to work out how I'm going to kind of have an interchange here, because I do feel like it just sort of stops here. Sorry, I'm just going to bring you a bit. There's my cup of tea, but I'll move my cup of tea out of the way. So yeah, I probably want to do something here, whether it is, for example, sort of putting something there that would then suggest why the sort of seaweed doesn't come further around, or I do actually have a whole lot more of the fringing. So another option is that I can bring it around, attach it just under where this edge finishes, and then it can continue its way around. I think that's probably where I'm going to go, because I don't mind. I think there's enough of an eye relax in this area that the fringing won't sort of take away from what I was trying to achieve there. So yeah, this is the the tassels going all the way around, and they're in the wonderful changing colors. Again, my camera's just struggling to get the right resolution. And I just love how they are cascading off the piece. Now let me bring you back up again and show you a bit of this area around here, because again this is another favorite spot. So we go from where, and I think I'm going to bring in, have I got it? Yeah, I've got it handy here. I think this is one of the ones that I'm going to, a rather fabulous little bit of crochet. I thought I might bring that in there. And then yeah, there's just so many elements, and I have intentionally left some loose because I just don't want everything to be super stitched down and not have movement. So even like these little edgy bits, these bits, so they're definitely attached in, but they move with the piece. Likewise, sorry, let me bring you up maybe, or angle you up a bit more. Likewise with the pieces like this, I definitely just wanted to have them, have them keeping their interest and movement. That might be a better angle for the camera. I didn't want to freehand it, so I'm just having to do the best with a piece that definitely has a lot in it. So this was a piece of like cord that I wrapped with a wool that had all these different colors and had little sequins. I then knotted it, and then I secreted these bits in. I've got some more bits I want to sort of, secrete into it. This was a felted ball that I made and then put a bit of my dyed doily over it. This is a bit of ribbon. These were again, I think I used cotton wool in the middle, and then used some coloured silk, and then put some of the webbing sort of stuff over it. I don't know where my webbing, it was a plain coloured webbing that I got from the Reverse Art Truck, but I dyed that with my pink and orange highlighter. So yeah, it is rather fabulous. Again, just trying to keep everything in frame. So I just, again, love this little cluster here, the yellow. Oh, and there's even like a little, so that's a yellow fluoro thread wrapped around just an edge bit of the blanket to make a little swirly bit. And it's almost just hiding in there, but I just love that you kind of have to really peek and see. I haven't yet decided if I'm going to put any of my little fish or little beads and things I've got like that. I think I probably will, and that's probably the next stage once I get the sort of full composition done, is to then go in with lots of beading. I also have quite a few things I want to add, like these little ones, which I want to sort of put into here. For example, where I've got this, I might need to just move things a bit so you can see. I've got a few of these that I want to bring in there, and I think I'm also going to put some over in here as well, just to continue this sort of little piece. And again, that was dyed with my highlighter. So I've got so many pieces, plus lots of pieces to the side of me, and that's where I thought we might do some arranging on the back. I'll just give you another spin so you can just sort of have a look. This is a fabulous wool that again I've wrapped around something so that it became sort of more compact, but it does have these lovely little tussly bits. This is another one of those baubles that I used a coloured silk and then put my painted doilies over the top. And again, yeah, I just love this little section down here. I love all the laces that I have gathered up to make this little cluster. And then yeah, just love this sense of the waves washing across. So I think that's a bit of a look at how it is. So what I might do now, I'll just go around one more time. Hopefully it's staying mostly in focus. So yeah, just love these little streams washing down. That one I've still got to sew on, so I'll just take that off so it doesn't fall for now. And we can do some composition together. But yeah, I really wanted to have the cave because in the song Octopus's Garden, I've got it up on my iPad here. It talks about we would be warm below the storm in our little hideaway beneath the waves, resting our head on the seabed in an octopus's garden near a cave. And so I just like the sense that it's like this octopus has cultivated this beautiful little garden. And that's why also I'm kind of happy that at the back it's not quite as yeah, not quite as arranged, and so it's more like this is then the more wild part of the reef. But the octopus has put his most colourful and beautiful little cultivated sort of garden around at the very front near his cave. So that's the story in my head. So what I will do now is I will take my little stand down. I think I'll take, oops, there goes the stand falling down behind me, and I will bring you over, and I think we'll do some arranging on our piece. So I might take my octopus out. I'll bring you round to the back of the piece, and I'll bring you up a little bit, and I'll give the camera a little tap, get an angle that I think will work, because where we want to work now is on this bit. But as you can see, the reason I wanted to have it up on the stand was I wanted you really to be able to see the tassels and how they look when they're hanging down. So let me do that. And so this is where I want to create a bit of an arrangement. Just going to grab my scissors out. So I've got some elements that I'm thinking I will use. I will also grab my pin cushion, and what we might do is sort of, yeah, pin them in place first and work out how we want it to look before we sew it. So I was wondering, maybe this one could also be used where I just want to, although if I am going to continue the fringing around, it probably doesn't matter. Wondering if I wanted to put maybe my little that there. Let's see what else I've got. I've also got this lovely piece also. Maybe I want to separate that out a bit, or do I want to put that one down there at the front like that? Got some lovely yellow, which I might want to use just so I kind of echo that, the yellow on both sides. So I'll just get one of my long pins and just push it in for now. And I'll put one of these in and one of those there. And then I do have some of these as well. Although this one I was thinking I might put round with the other ones. I don't know if, yeah, no, I don't think I need the oranges over here, so I'll put that to the side. I've got a bit of this cloth in the orange, but again, oh, maybe that wouldn't be bad there. It's a bit softer and it kind of then flows into the reef piece. We can have some purple, because again that will just sort of pick up what you can see in the distance over there. So I might just put that one in. This one's not quite long enough to hold it in place. I'll get one of my longer pins. And I was thinking I might do some beads sort of cascading out from them. That is certainly an inspiration from looking at Fleur's pieces. She often has the lovely beads cascading out. What else do I want to use? Got some little pinky pieces, and that's a nice thing. You can kind of just nestle things in. And I think I'm thinking on this one I want to kind of break up the surface a bit. And I had this that I cut off one of my other doilies, and I was wondering if I just wanted to kind of drape it around a little bit, so it's like it's something growing over the surface of this little one. And the funny thing is you can pin everything in place, and then when you stitch it down it just sort of starts to take on its own shapes anyway. So it's really just sort of thinking through elements, but then allowing the piece to tell you how it wants to be looking. Yeah, I think I like that. It gives it that really nice organic look. And then I've got another one of my little sort of sewn together clusters. So whether I'd want to maybe put that could be good there. somewhat like that. Oh, this is one of the ones that I've made with that one that I showed you before. I've left some thread on the end to make it easier when I want to stitch it in. Whether it will, probably won't make it easier. I might actually take the thread off because I think I'll probably use a single piece of thread to stitch down multiple elements. Yeah, it might be fun to put that in there. Or do I want it somewhere a bit more pronounced so I get to see its lovely colours? No, I don't think I mind it there actually. What else? I've got this bobbly trim. Originally I was thinking I might bring some of that down here as well. I still could bring something through here. What do we think about that? I think I quite like that actually. Yep, I think that will be a goer. So let's put a pin up this end. I can hear Travis playing with his toy downstairs. He's probably thinking, okay, if I play with this, Mum will emerge. He has had his first dinner. He'll be now thinking about his second one, but it's way too early for second dinners yet. Don't know if that's too similar maybe. I think I might want something a bit more, maybe. I've got this one that still needs to be sewn together, so we could sew it together and that could be quite nice down there, I think. So I will grab a needle and thread and we can stitchy do that together. I'm not worrying too much what thread colours I use, particularly on the pieces that are multiple colours, because yeah, it doesn't really show that much. And anyway, even in nature you have things that pick up different colours. But yeah, really looking forward to stitching into some of this area down here. So I'll see if that's doable on video. It might be a little bit cumbersome trying to work, and I think even trying to stitch this down might end up being a bit cumbersome. So we might just do our sort of arranging and adding some other elements around the place rather than, and the stitching really I'm just popping up and down, and particularly I was kind of thinking in retrospect it would have been much easier to stitch everything on the cave before I stitched onto the piece, but it's really hard because then you don't have the sense of the sort of undulation, etc. So what I've done there is just gone down into the cave and then popped back up, and it just takes a bit of time, and as I say, it's probably a bit cumbersome for on the video, but I didn't want you to miss out on the techniques. And yeah, ask if you've got any questions at all. I'm always totally happy to share what I am doing. It's always my own bodgy methods. Yeah, I'm sure others have probably less bodgy methods, but I get there in the end. And really a lot of my stitching is very experimental. Like this is absolutely an experimental piece, but I'm just so thrilled with how it's all coming together. So what I'm doing is just sort of gathering stitches and not even always going through the fabric. Sometimes I'm just going through the holes in the doily. And the other way, actually, I'm wondering if this one might be better. I might be better actually on this one to fold it rather than do the gathering stitch here. I think I might do that because I probably want the folds a bit more organic and a bit larger than you get with the gathering. So let's do that actually. See, again, evolving it as you go. So I'm just going to do stitches backwards and forwards through it. So I hope you're having a beautiful day. It is Saturday evening here, about, what is it, 6:07 p.m. We had our lovely neighbours from the United States, the boys who are over working here in Australia on a 6-month sort of working holiday, I guess. Mainly working actually because they're still studying as well. But yeah, they befriended us over the fence, and Travis likes to go out and talk to them over the fence. So we had them over, for dinner again. We'd had them previously for sort of afternoon tea into dinner. And that was lovely last night, and we have leftovers tonight, so that's a win-win for me. Nice company, and yeah, I get to stitch right up until dinner. So that's a bonus. So yeah, I think something like that, as I say, I won't try, and I'll show you how that stitches down, because I think I'm going to be happy to have that down here. I think, yeah, I think that will work. Which way do I want it? Nope, I want it that way. Sometimes you just know. Now the challenge here is going to be not catching the fringing. So that's going to be my only degree of difficulty. Well, probably not my only degree, because I'm also having to stitch and keep it on camera at the same time and all those things. So let me gather up my fringy bits, and maybe I'll just put them on the top over here while I do the stitching, which might be easier said than done actually. Some of that. So I hold those up there, but I still need to be able to get to where I'm stitching. As I say, I just don't think it's going to be that practical to do too much of the stitching on camera with a piece this size and this sort of dimensional. I think it's going to prove challenging. Oops, I'm catching this bit of ribbon, which we don't need to do yet. So I'll just put a few stitches in, and then later on, when I'm kind of holding it up at an angle that's easier for me to stitch, I'll be able to do it properly. But yeah, I'm basically coming through from the bottom here, which is easier around this edge piece, but when it's on the cave, I actually have to go through to the cave, or in some places I was able to kind of angle my needle, so I went through like that, but that wasn't always possible depending on where I was manoeuvring. Also because it's kind of quite textural, undulating. So I will just tie it off on the back now. But yeah, the wool's lovely. This sort of felted wool is lovely to stitch through. I still remember I had a favourite new dress when well, not new, I'd worn it a few times when I was working in my early working days. It was a beautiful wool dress, and then I think one day Mum accidentally put it in a hot wash, and when I came home it was majorly shrunken. These days I'd use it in one of my texture projects. So yeah, that will just sort of nestle in with that. This will go there. Let's have a look what else we might want to add. Oh, we've got this yellowy one as well. So where do we want to put the yellowy one, which I've left a thread attached to, which I'll probably remove also. So where do we want to put the yellowy one? In here, which could work. Then we've got a few bulbous. I usually like to have about three bulbous sort of elements. That one's come undone. Hang on, let's just see what we're doing here. So we'll have our yellowy McYellow could come round sort of like that. Then this one, and with these I made some felted balls, and then I put the coloured doily over, but left the sort of bottom bits. So I basically gathered it around to put the ball in the middle, and then left these bits so they could come up around the bauble. Oh, that's quite a bent pin, but might still do the job. I don't know. Maybe it won't. It's going to be harder to push in. Let's put that down like that. And I think that will be quite sweet. And then maybe this one can go in there. Oh no, there's that dodgy pin. I am going to get rid of that afterwards because it's annoying me. So this one, put in like that. Still got this quite colourful one. Where do I want to put that? Kind of will echo a bit of the pinky colours, I think, over there. So put that there. And again, this white will just help to kind of bring that, that area around. Got some of these blues as well, which might be nice just to kind of unify to these other pieces. I don't want to come too far over here because that's where I want to do some of my lovely stitching pieces, but I'll be able to fit a fair few in there. So I think this is probably as far as I will go with this section. Then if we come round to here, oh, I do have these lovely little bobbles as well. Hang on, let's just have a look. Although these oranges might actually work around this side. Yeah, because they might link nicely to this fringing. So we'll come around here. So you can see I've got 2 of these little wrapped with the pinky fluorescent highlighter. And so I've got another one of them that I was just thinking might be good to put somewhere in the mix. But I might first of all put this rather crazy fun one coming up here, I think. Is that that's my annoying pin again. You have to go in the rubbish bin, and I'll just need to make sure you don't fall out. Oh no, there's another bent one. I've obviously been bending pins at a rapid rate of knots recently. And we'll put this one in here, and then I wonder if I put this one sort of cascading down along there, and I might stitch a little bit of this down just to hold its little tail. Not sure, although it probably needs something else with it, but maybe that's where something like this could come into play. And sometimes I like to kind of layer things up. That's what I certainly did with the fringing. I kind of folded it. You can't probably see it in many places. Maybe here you can see it. I was folding it over itself so it gave more of the fringing rather than just a single layer, because I didn't want anything to look too perfect. I want it to look more organic. And that's why, like, even with these, I'm just sort of bobbling, sort of making them bobble up together. So I think that could be rather nice. And then I wonder if I need like a greeny coloured one. We might need to gather another bit of, oh no, I do have some things here, but I do also have some extra ribbons that I haven't yet. But maybe a bit of green. And I have this lovely spotty greeny one that I quite like as well. So I wonder if maybe I'll put, maybe I should put this one first. And in fact, maybe that one would actually be good along here rather than trying to trail the other one. Maybe that's, sometimes it's just the order that you're kind of putting things in that is the thing. And then this one could actually trail more up like that. Yeah, that's better. I like that better. And it's sort of nestling better in this little curve of the piece. And then I think I can still do what I wanted to do, but I might even kind of position it before I pop it onto the piece, and noting that it will be different when I'm stitching it down anyway. This is just kind of conceptualizing what we want to do. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What else? I've got a tiny lovely little pinky piece. Oh, and something I think it would be really fun that I'm going to do is do a giveaway. So if you're watching so far in, you're eligible for the giveaway. And I'm going to send you some little elements that you can use to make your own coral reef brooch. And that's another project that I'm going to be showing you. I'll probably do that as part of our Whimsical Wearables collaboration with my lovely friends Sally from Dotty B here on YouTube, and my lovely friend Christy from So Bits Christy, and another lovely friend Velita, who's also on YouTube, is also following along with our little projects for that. So cheerios to you, Velita. Just love what you're doing. And I'll link to all of them below this video, as well as other YouTubers that you might want to check out as part of sharing the love and bringing kindness and generosity into this wonderful community that we are so lucky to have. And that's really important to me to do that and to be an encouraging influence in this community. And that's just why I love love spending time and chatting albeit not in person, but yeah, chatting with and keeping in touch with my lovely friends Sally and Christy, because they're just very much of the same mindset of creating kindness and encouragement for others, which I just think is super important for anyone that's working, well, anyone in the world, but particularly in these creative domains. The more encouragement we can give, the better it is. What have we got down here? Look at this sweet little one. See, this would be the type of element. So yeah, if you want to enter into my little giveaway to make a coral reef brooch, include the word kindness in your comment below this video. So kindness. And I'll leave this open a week, and then I'll do a draw and I'll send out to anywhere in the world that I'm allowed to send to, which should be most places, a little set of elements to make your own brooch. What I might do is send them in the flat form, because I'm thinking whatever I can fit into just a regular sending card only envelope, and then you can gather them up, but I'll give you the threads, etc., and then you can gather them up and make your own little reef. But I'll give you lots of lovely brightly coloured bits and pieces, as well as some of the other ribbons and bits that I've used, and even some of the things that you can make your own versions, like these little bobbles, because I think that would be fun. And I can probably, or maybe I can't, I might need you to source the brooch back, but you can find those at little $2 shops, because I'm thinking probably sending a pin or metal might not go well with the card only requirement. Where do I want to have this one? Maybe I'll just bring this one just down there. I think it's nice to have the really small elements sort of at the front of the piece, so that you can actually see them, just like I did on the very front over there. I think I want to leave this area out, so I don't want to cover that up too much more. Great thing is I've now covered where I had the join in the fringing, because I'd only brought the sort of the beaded piece around here. So let's go round to the front. As you can see, it's much easier to move around when you have the swirly sort of tool that I had before. But what I want to do here, and I still probably just need to play around with how that purple is positioned, but I want to add some of these little baubles into the front here. Again, I won't do the stitching on them, we'll just do the kind of the arranging. But I think I'll nestle one up into here. And just got a tickle in my throat. We had a lovely Harmony Day lunch at work, Taste of Harmony is what it's called. It's part of Harmony Day, although we deferred ours because of sort of Ramadan, and then it was Easter and school holidays, so we're having it a bit later than we usually do. But everyone brings in food either from their sort of cultural background, or from a country that they've loved visiting, or food that they have a particular attachment to. And we had a lovely lunch on Thursday this week, so that was really nice to go in for. And share food with friends. Lucky to work with really lovely people. But it is always exhausting, I have to say. And I was there rather late. We had a lot going on the work front as well, so it was kind of like quite a long day. But I'm glad it's the weekend now, and I get to engage, and I'm glad that I've got a bit more time for this. I was happy to put it in maybe without doing all of the embellishment that I want to do, but I'll be really happy if I can get that done. And there's another exhibition I think I might enter this into that's coming up later this year as well. So, because I am actually really, really happy with it. And I just feel like it's, really extended my practice, and I've absolutely experimented with things, and I hope you're a bit excited about it as well. So we've done that. So I don't think there's probably too much more in terms of the elements, although you can always obviously, come in and find where you want to insert things into it. But I think I'm getting to the point where it is, kind of got the elements I want. Oh, has something fallen out from there? Yes, something has. I can see I was like, what's that gap? That is this bit of lovely white coral. So I'll just poke my pin back in for that. And yeah, it's just thinking for me about where you want to bring the eye with this, like this little cluster here, and then we'll come around here down into the stitched area. And then with this, it was very much about bringing the eye round to the front of the cave, and then having our octopus just hanging out there. So I'll leave it there, I think, because that's probably enough of a look at this piece, seeing I can't really do the stitching that well on camera. But hopefully it's given you some inspiration. Hopefully you're a bit excited either to make a piece at this sort of scale, or for our upcoming coral reef whimsical wearable brooch, which I will create a video for, and I'll send out some supplies to a lucky commenter below this video. So comment kindness, the word, in your comment, and I'll pop you into the draw for that. Thanks everyone, have a lovely weekend, and I will chat to you soon. Bye.